Hello. This is a shameless plug to interest you in buying my novel, Murder and Retribution on the Great Slave Lake. It's available on Amazon. Doesn't cost much, but it's a hell of a good novel. If you like Lee Child's novels with Jack Reacher, you'll really like Ian McPherson, who's similarly a badass dude. This novel is about Special Forces, Army Special Forces veteran who leaves the service. He ends up going up to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, Canada, to manage a bar. And it's loosely based on my personal experiences as a young man. As you can see, I'm no longer young. This goes back 50, 60 years ago when it was kind of like the Old West up there. In other words, that's exactly what I did. I'm Special Forces. My father was U.S. Army Special Forces, retired as a Command Sergeant Major. He fought in Europe in World War II, and he fought in Korea later on. I believe he was one of the first advisors in Vietnam long before the war broke out involving American troops. Be that as it may, I wrote the novel because kind of a salute to Special Forces guys, but also to keep alive some of the people in the story, like Big Joe Alchek or the Caribou Queen, the Singing Swede, Sophia Football. These are all real people, and I include them in the story to kind of keep their memory alive. The story is about this Vietnam vet. While he's up there, he meets a beautiful young woman who works with the CIA outfit. And she's based loosely on a good friend of mine, the wife of a really great friend of mine who was the first woman who flew into Operation Desert Storm with the CIA. She was trained in weapons at Quantico. Quite an interesting lady, but I'm not sure I did her full justice in the novel because she's quite an interesting woman. So these two begin falling in love, and with the backdrop of the bar and the brawls and the fights that go on. 1/3 of the bar seated 300 people, and 1/3 of the bar was called Indian Row. That's where the Indians and Aleuts and Eskimos all congregated, and we had the only live entertainment in town, so everybody wanted to come. There were fights that broke out pretty regular, and that was my job to settle that down. I was never a great fighter, but I was pretty good in my time. I was no Bruce Lee or Chuck, what was his name? Chuck Norris. But I could handle myself pretty good. I defeated black belts in karate in competition when I was still a brown belt. There was a time one night when some soldiers from another unit up north of us there in Germany that came into our bar and were looking for fun and fights. And they got one. 8 of them tried to take me on all by themselves, and that didn't work out too good for those guys. The guy with the blackjack, I put him in the hospital. So I was no super fighter, but I was pretty good. Probably not all that good when you consider the fact when you're stationed with when you're serving with guys who are professional killers, it takes a lot to move up that pecking order, and I assure you, I was at the bottom of the rung. We had some guys who were living legends, actually, in their time. In any event, as far as the story goes, these two people fall in love, and then mutual friends of theirs are murdered by a drug smuggler, so they kind of join forces and go around and eliminate all these guys who killed their friends. And then they make a run for the American border. through 1,000 miles of Canadian wilderness in the winter. So, adding to the fact that I know a little bit about fighting. In fact, some of the fighting in the novel are just memories of fights that I had. We were trained in winter mountain warfare in Bavarian Alps in Germany. And so that lends authenticity to the story. Also, everything along the way is something I've actually experienced or know something about. For instance, when I was stationed in Germany, this was all during the Vietnam War, but I never went to Vietnam. I went to Germany and partied. We were required every Thursday to go to the gym and practice silent kill techniques, they were called, and that's fighting with the garrote, the knife, the improvised weapons, bare hands, etc., and so forth, for taking out sentries and so forth. In fact, ironically, the guy who taught us how to throw knives effectively, Lieutenant Elliott, was actually a circus performer before he joined the Army, and so he knew exactly how to throw knives. He was one of those guys that throws knives at the woman on the spinning wheel, and hopefully never hits her. I'm not sure if that's why he had to join the Army, but anyway, we got some good training. So while these two are making their run for the border, they have assassins, drug smugglers send assassins after them, and in retribution. And also the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are hot on their trail as well. So it makes for a lot of interesting twists and turns, and everybody's read it so far has loved it. I'm retired now. I retired as a professional surveyor. But I work part-time just to keep a few coins in my pocket. I shuttle railroad engineers around from job to job, or from the job to the hotel, or so forth and so on. Or sometimes I take them way out in the country to meet their train when the crews switch off and so forth. So these guys found out recently that I wrote this novel, and they've been talking it up in there. They've bought a few copies. What I need is for a whole bunch of people to buy a whole lot of copies, because I'm old, I could use the bucks, and it's a fair exchange, because trust me, it's a very entertaining novel. You'll love it. It would be a great read on a long flight. Take care. I'll show you one more time the cover of the book. It's in Amazon.com. You can find it pretty easy. Thank you, and have a really nice day.